Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today's video I'm going to show you how I colour gems and beads. I'm going to add some beads in, might as well, they're on the page, so why not, eh? So I am working in Hanna Karlzon's Tales from the Forest Kingdom. Absolutely love this book. And I'm doing this a wintry page. I suppose it is a little bit festive as well, but I've gone with winter colours rather than too Christmassy. And yeah, I've coloured, I did these blue leaves on my colour and chat video, and I've been working on the gems and the beads, and I thought I've been doing my how-to colour videos, and I thought I'll add gems and beads on. Seems like a win. We'll get two jobs done at once. I've done one and we'll do the other together, and I'll do some of the beads first. I do mine in a very simple way. Beads can get very complicated. Beads are different to pearls. They don't shine quite the same, and I think they're an easier version to do. You can, if you wish, leave a lighter edge into beads and put your colour further in the middle. I'm just doing them this way. I do a darker edge and I work my colour brighter into the centre, like it's just my highlighted point, and I keep it nice and simple like that. So that is how we will do ours. Let's see, so we'll do a couple of these together. I've got two polychromos and a Holbein here. I've got polychromos 158 deep cobalt green, 112 leaf green, and then a Holbein in 270 willow green. As always, guys, you need a dark green, a medium green, and a really pale green. A pastel set, if you have them, would be perfect. If not, just the palest green and the darkest green that you can find, and slap a middle tone in there and you are done. The only thing I'm going to add for the gems, I'm using a 5-tone blend, so I've added kind of a slightly less dark and a slightly less light, so there's two extra colours in between these three, and that will add in Hooker's Green 159 in polychromos and Grass Green 166 in polychromos. Again, all you need is 5 quite yellow toned greens in 5 shades, and if you can't do 5, 3 will work just as well. It is a little bit extra really, but 3 will do. You do you, guys. There's no rules to this. Whatever pencils you want. If you're using a wax pencil, they will blend a little bit more than a poly, so you won't have to layer them up. You'll be able to kind of smudge them into each other, is the main difference. And all I'm doing is I'm giving it a very dark outer ring. And then, as always, I'm fading off my pressure to be able to blend that colour into the next one without a harsh blend line. So I'm giving it a smudged look. We'll do a couple. Again, just really quickly adding some layers down there. Not a lot of finesse to these. They're quite small, kept it quite simple. And then just feather that off. We'll do one more in the small. And then I'm going to take that middle green, the leaf green 112. I'm going to pop that over the top of that feathered area, and then again I'm going to feather that out into nothing so it will accept my final colour without a harsh line. So a bit more pressure towards the outer edges, a bit more layers laid down, and then just really lightly adding a little bit of that colour towards the middle. And then I'm going to take that Holbein, that willow green 270, I'm just going to pop that into the middle. They're really beautiful for smoothing and blending out your polychromos, so these Holbein. They're my favourite way to use them. And you get that kind of really nice, smooth, blended look. And you really can see that colour. So what you can do is go back over in that darkest green, that deep cobalt green, as always, just to add that darker edge back in where you lose it a little bit from adding those colours. Make sure you keep it blended out towards the centre. Sharp pencils in small places give you better control over where you're laying pencil. And that is how we get this look. So that's that one. I hope that's enough, guys. I mean, it really is a simple blend, that one. So we then have our gem, and I'm going to introduce my other two greens to make this a little bit extra. So we have our 5 green set, dark to light. Again, whatever you're using, it doesn't matter. 5 greens in the same colour family if you can, although to be honest that won't even matter either. I do swatch mine a little bit differently anyway. And what we're doing is first we're going to work piece by piece, and then we will add some shade over the top to get kind of the shape. I'm just literally picking out spots where we've got the darker side. You can really work on realism and get these super professionally right. That's not what I'm doing. You've met me. I'm just picking little spots where my darkest end is going to be. Fading that off into nothing. Do we want one more? One more here. Don't want to make them even. So that is that one. And then my next green, and I'll put that in a couple more places. And add it to a couple of these darker. And then my third green, again I am adding it to these darker green areas, some of them. And then working it into some new. So now I'm going to go back up to my top colour, because at that point you realise that you're probably going to need a couple more darker areas. So I'm going to add that top colour there, and that second colour, I think we'll have that here. Just fading it off into nothing. And we'll have it here as well. I think we'll finish it off here as well, to be honest. Right, so back to that third colour to add that into some of these areas. And then our fourth green. And then I'm going to take my palest green, my blender green, and I'm just going to pop that wherever we've got no colour, and I'm going to blend that in a little bit across. It doesn't look like much now, they never do, not till we start adding our shape in, but that is our base colours for the gem. So for the centre, again I'm going to take my darkest green and I'm going to work that in around the bottom half, along the edges, really lay down some layers. Obviously I am doing this thing quite quickly. You can take your time with it and build these up a bit more slowly. As always, we're then going to feather that out, release our pressure, add a light layer that we can blend our next colour into. End up with like a misty layer. And pop a bit of darkness in the top and fade that out as well. Our second green, we're going to pop that all the way around the sides, and we're going to start to bring that in a little bit. And then again we're going to feather that out, release that pressure, create a kind of a misty layer. So we can layer our next colour over the top of that and they will create a new colour. Our third green, same again, going over the last layers, working that further in and just kind of really releasing the pressure on that. I would advise you to turn your page as you're working if you need to. As always guys, elbow on the table, rest your wrist on the page, put a bit of paper underneath you or wear a glove if you need to. Try and get out of the habit of leaning in towards your page, you'll get backache, and hold your pencil at a normal place so you're not putting too much pressure on, especially with an oil pencil, you don't need to. They react much better if you layer them slower. Okay, now we've got, you know, three colours down there, 3 layers. Now what we're going to do, you can either add or leave this step. Technically these are more of a gem, so I wouldn't usually put any lines into, but if they're more of an opal piece or a round looking gem piece, what you can do is add in these little veins. I did it with these because I felt like it gave it that kind of smooth opal piece to one side, like it's attached to the side of the gem, which I quite liked. Plus I wasn't going to, but I wanted to add them for the tutorial, so it's all one. So you can either skip this step or add it in if you're doing like a more pearlized kind of gem piece. So I have a red and a very dark red and a dark brown. So in the polychromos, it's red violet 194 and dark sepia 175. You could use black or grey. You can use black or grey if you want to. I just use red and brown. And all you're going to do is very lightly put in some little wiggly lines. Doesn't have to be, you know, a work of art. It doesn't have to be amazing. Just randomly. Add some little veins into there. Simple as that. In you know, a little bit of red and a little bit of brown. That is all I do. That adds your vein. Then we go to our last 2 layers of green. I do this on purpose. I don't want to put them right at the beginning and then smudge all my colours over the top. But I don't want them to be the top layer and then they look like they're just sat on top and too dark. So now we've got our 4th green and we're going to work that over everything, and we're essentially just ignoring those lines now. If you're using softer wax pencils, I probably wouldn't advise it for the lines themselves. I'd probably, if you've got a hard leaded oil based pencil in a brown and a red, it will work better for those small lines. But if you haven't, the thing I would advise you doing differently to me is I would put my veins in last, because in a soft wax it's going to move. These veins in this hard oil pencil, they're going to stay exactly where I've put them. I can put my layers over the top and it will mute them a little bit, but they will stay exactly where I've put them. That in something like a Prisma is not going to happen. You would end up with a bit of a mushy mess. So in that case, I would put my lines very lightly over the top of everything else. Because also your Prisma is so opaque that you probably would cover them up with it as well. So that's the only thing I'd do different if you're a wax pencil fan. Pop your little lines in last, as light as you can, with as sharp a point as you possibly can. So again, I'm just blending this in towards the middle, leaving a little bit in my 4th green. And then I'm going to take my final blender, Holbein, in that willow green, and just very lightly pop that final colour. I don't want this everywhere, it's a different tone of green, so I'm only really putting this in the centre. And again, as always, I'm going to go back in with my darkest green. I'm going to turn my page a little bit. And I'm just going to really darken underneath that and blend it up a little bit. Add a little bit of depth down here. And a little bit here. Helps it look less flat. Right, that is the base of our gem colour. We're now going to add some shading to add some shape to this. So I'm going to take my darkest green. This is deep cobalt green 158. You can use a very dark grey or a black for this if you prefer. And all I'm going to do is nice and simply darken up the edge. Really pop a few layers down there, all the way down the side. And then I'm going to blend that in a little bit, release my pressure, just remove that harsh line a little bit by just running over that with a bit less pressure. We're going to do the exact same thing the other side. Really want to darken that up. And just go over that blend line. bit less pressure and smooth that in just till your blend line disappears. Okay, and then we're going to do the same thing around the outside of this inner gem. Not quite as thick this time, just a little bit, little line all the way around, and then smooth that blend line in. Same again. And again, just smooth that blend line out. And that just gives it a little bit more depth. Like I say, you can use a black if you like. Now we have the whole white gel pen option. Now if I can, I'm pretty sure this is the same book I used, bear with me, for my other picture. Oh, saying that, it might not be. It might not have been in this one. If you go back to my Let's Colour, I've done in the Hanna Karlzon, I think it's Tales from the Witch's Cottage, I did a beetle page and it had a gem in its centre and we whited all the black lines. So sometimes I will do that. I will just go over all the black lines, white everything out, and you get a nice effect. For this particular page I don't want to do that. I like the darkness of the green, so I'm not doing that. So if you want to see that, just go back to that picture. It is literally just colouring over the black lines in a white gel pen. So all I'm going to do now with my white gel pen, you're going to just go over the black lines that are inside the shape. So where she's added like a little highlight to the gem in her black line, you're just going to change it into a white one. So you're just going over everything. As always, guys, I would advise doing this at the end when you've done your background and all your embellishment bits and pieces. You add your embellishments in at that point. So I'm just whiting out the little highlights, and then the same thing for this piece. What I'm going to do is white out this inner circle, because what that actually is a highlight. Make sure you keep your pen nib clean so it's smooth. Oh, this can get quite annoying. I literally wipe it on my fingers like a barbarian. Don't do that, have a bit of tissue. My Uniball Signo is coming to the end of its life, it's hardly any ink in it. Do like these for white lining. But this one will have to be retired soon. Like I say, keep cleaning that. And it just gives you a highlight to your gem. Like I say, you can white line all the black lines. It does give a lovely effect, especially in kind of purples and reds and any lighter colours. But for this dark green, I don't know, I quite like the idea of leaving the black lines. And like I say, veins are optional extras. You can add or leave. Depends what kind of, if you're going for a shiny emerald like mine, you probably wouldn't do lines. I've done them so I could add them to the tutorial for you guys. And yeah, that is how I colour gems and beads. I hope you found this useful in some weird way, guys. If there's anything extra you want me to add in, let me know. I think I'm going to do crystals as a separate one because they're a different shape and they're different. You know those gem formation pages that you get, especially in a couple of the Hanna Karlzon pages. My idea was to do like a how I colour crystals as a separate kind of thing to this. So gems and beads for today, crystals for another day, because I do those slightly differently. As always, guys, if you've enjoyed the video, please give me a thumbs up. I hope this was helpful and you end up with something gem-like at the end of it. And if you enjoy the channel, please subscribe and I will see you in the next video, guys. Thank you for watching and bye.